He was sitting across from me at a dinner party. A man I had known for years. Sharp, composed, the kind of man who fills a room without trying. And at some point during the evening, the woman beside him leaned over and asked, almost as an afterthought, "Do you spend a lot of time on your own?" He laughed it off, said something vague about being busy, changed the subject. I watched her expression shift, just slightly, just for a moment, and then she turned away. He never noticed, but I did. And I remember thinking, he just missed something important. That moment stayed with me, because in all my years working with men and women on the most intimate aspects of their health and their lives, I have come to understand something that very few people talk about openly. The way men and women signal interest to each other is not the same. And for men over 50 especially, the gap between what is being communicated and what is being received can be enormous. Not because the signals are not there, but because no one ever explained what to look for. Today I want to talk about two things that belong together: how women signal genuine interest, and how the way you respond, the way you speak, the way you hold yourself, the language you use, determines whether that door opens or quietly closes. Let me start with something most men find counterintuitive. Women, particularly women who are mature and emotionally aware, rarely express interest directly. They do not announce it. They do not declare it. Instead, they do something far more subtle and far more revealing. They ask questions. Carefully chosen, seemingly casual questions that are not really about the information they appear to be requesting. They are about something else entirely. They are about you, your openness, your direction, your emotional availability. They are small bridges placed gently in the space between two people to see whether you will walk across them. There are two questions in particular that appear again and again, in cafes, at dinners, in quiet conversations that seem to be about nothing much. The first is some variation of, "Do you spend a lot of time on your own?" It sounds simple. It sounds like small talk, but it is not. What she is actually asking is far more personal. Is there space for me in your world? Are you emotionally open, or are you locked inside your routines? Can I come closer without being invisible? Women do not ask this question of men they feel nothing for. They ask it when they have already begun to imagine, even briefly, what it might feel like to be near you. It is the first small step, a door opened just slightly to see if you will notice. Most men answer this question literally. They say yes or no, give some details about their schedule, and move on. But the man who understands what is really being asked responds differently. Not with performance, not with rehearsed lines, but with genuine presence. Something like, "I value my own space, but I'm always open to good company." Or, "I have my routines, but there's always room for something real." This kind of answer does two things simultaneously. It signals that you're not desperate, not grasping, not waiting to be saved by someone else's attention. And it opens a door of its own, a quiet signal that you're available in the way that actually matters. The second question is deeper and arrives a little later, when the conversation has already found some warmth. It usually sounds like, "What are you looking for at this point in your life?" Or, "What are you building right now?" Again, it sounds casual. It is not. This is a woman attempting to understand your direction. Not your career, not your financial situation, but your inner direction. Whether you know who you are, whether you are living with intention or simply moving through days out of habit. Whether she could trust you with something tender. For men over 50, this question carries particular weight. Because women understand, often without articulating it, that a man who has reached this stage of life has either done the work of knowing himself or he has not. And she needs to know which one she is sitting with. When a man answers with vagueness, "I'm just taking it day by day," or "I'm not really sure," she hears something specific. She hears drift. And women do not open themselves to men who are drifting. But when a man answers with quiet clarity, "I'm building something simpler and more meaningful," the right people, the right moments, less noise, she hears direction. She hears stability. And that combination, in a man who is not performing it but simply living it, is deeply compelling. Now here is where the other piece connects. Because recognizing these signals is only half of the equation. The other half is how you speak, how you initiate, how you express what you want, how you carry yourself in the ordinary moments of conversation and invitation. And this is where many men, without realizing it, undermine themselves completely. The habit is this: avoiding directness out of a misplaced desire to seem accommodating. Saying, "We could maybe get together sometime if you're free," instead of, "I'd like to take you to dinner on Friday." Asking, "What do you want to do?" instead of, "I want to spend Saturday with you. Let's make it interesting." These small linguistic retreats feel polite. They feel low pressure. But they communicate something the speaker never intends: uncertainty. And uncertainty in a man who is trying to connect with a woman reads as a lack of investment. It suggests that you're not sure enough about what you want to be willing to name it. 2 words change this entirely. I want. Not as a demand, not with aggression or pressure, but as spoken calmly, with the quiet confidence of a man who knows himself well enough to be honest about what he is reaching for. I want to know you better. I'd like to have coffee with you this week. I want to spend more time in conversations like this one. The directness is not the point in itself. The point is what the directness communicates underneath. That you are present, that you are intentional, that you respect both yourself and the other person enough to be real with them. This is not a technique, it is a posture. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius wrote about the discipline of speaking only what you mean and meaning what you speak. Seneca observed that a man who cannot be direct with his own desires has not yet mastered himself. The willingness to say clearly what you want, without apology and without inflation, is one of the oldest and most reliable markers of a man who is genuinely grounded. And grounded men are, without exception, compelling to be around. There is something important to add here. Directness is not the same as inflexibility. A man who says, "I'd like to have dinner Friday," and then, when she says she cannot, responds with genuine ease, "No problem, Saturday works just as well," is demonstrating something even more attractive than the initial invitation. He's demonstrating that his sense of himself does not depend on her immediate agreement. He wants, and he expresses it, and he remains steady regardless of the response. That steadiness is rare. Women feel it immediately. For men over 50, all of this matters in a particular way, because women who are mature bring a different set of expectations to these encounters. They are not looking for performance. They are not easily impressed by surface signals. What they are reading, carefully, quietly, often without consciously knowing they are doing it, is your level of self-knowledge. Whether you have arrived at a place of inner clarity, or whether you are still caught in patterns that belong to an earlier chapter of your life. The 2 questions they ask, and the way you respond to them, give them more information about this than almost anything else you could say. The man who understands what "do you spend a lot of time alone?" is really asking, and answers with warmth and openness rather than defensiveness or deflection, is telling her, I am here, I am present, there is space. The man who hears, what are you looking for at this stage, and responds with quiet direction rather than vagueness, is telling her, I know where I'm going, I am not adrift. You can trust what you feel near me. And the man who, in the moments that call for it, says simply and calmly, I want, who takes the initiative without pressure, who names what he's reaching for without apology, is giving her the one thing that matters most. The experience of being with someone who is fully, deliberately, consciously there. Here is what I want to leave you with, and it is simple. For the next 7 days, pay attention. In every conversation with a woman, whether a stranger, a colleague, someone you already know, notice the questions. Notice when the question is not really about the information it appears to be requesting. Notice the small doors. And when you feel yourself about to say, whatever you'd like, or, I'm not sure, what do you think? Pause. Ask yourself what you actually want, and then say it, clearly, calmly, without apology. You're not too old for this. You're not past the moment where any of this matters. If anything, you are at the stage where it matters most. Because what you have now, that you did not have at 30, is the depth of self-knowledge that makes all of this not a strategy, but simply the truth of who you are. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever looked back at a conversation and realized only afterward that a door had been opened and you had walked right past it? Leave it in the comments. You might be describing exactly what another man is living right now. And if this conversation meant something to you, subscribe. Because next week I am going into something that very few people discuss openly. The specific way emotional unavailability in men over 50 develops, why it happens, and the quiet daily practice that begins to dissolve it. That one will stay with you.